Okay, considering my channel is primarily centered around the idea of zombies, hence the channel rising from the ever still popular and well-regarded franchise Left 4 Dead, a few why you wouldn't survive scenarios involving zombie-related video game franchises, and a series dedicated to pointing out the flaws in zombie movies called Zombie Sins. But one thing that consistently pops up in my comment section, in my Discord, and sometimes my Twitter is the classic phrase, "They're not zombies, they're infected." And no matter how many times I say in my zombie videos that yes, I do know the difference between a zombie and infected, people still at me with that, did you know that they're actually zombies? You're such an idiot. They're not dead, but just infected. Listen, the genre is still encapsulated in the broad term zombie. If we want to be technical and be all high and mighty, aren't we all just mindless zombies droning on as we stare at our smartphones and computers anyways? So I wanted to take the time out of my day and in the future stop constantly making the "they're not zombies, they're infected" joke out at the start of any of my zombie videos and just get this out of the way, even though I know it won't stop further pro-gamer comments. So, without further ado, let's get to the subject matter at hand. What is the difference between a zombie and an infected? First, we really need to take a look at the definition of the word zombie before purists and elitists start touting off what is a zombie. The origins of the term zombie are a bit fuzzy, but some could say they could be traced back to its West African origins, where we have the Congo words Nzambi, God, and Zombi, fetish, and further was pressed by a 1903 dictionary translating Kimbundu to Portuguese that defines the loosely similar term as a spirit that is supposed to wander the earth to torment the living. It was this Haitian origin that the idea of a zombie was just a mindless slave to whomever voodoo priests commanded them, whether it be the living or dead. However, these means of witchcraft were superstitions pushed by subjecting real people to two special powders directly to the bloodstream. The ingredients included the neurotoxin of a pufferfish, a drug called datura, and even pieces of a recently buried child's brain. These components would put the victim into a mindless and unaware state, making them susceptible to manipulation. So it's no wonder people were in a zombified and easily manipulated state. Films like White Zombie and I Walked with a Zombie personified this idea of the zombie as a purely mindless servant who would do the bidding of their voodoo master, which in retrospect, using whatever voodoo magic they have at their disposal, wouldn't have a very far outreach, and kind of works in the same fashion of old vampire movies. Kill the source of the monsters, and the rest will revert to normal eventually. The infamous Plan 9 from Outer Space saw to making aliens attempt to stop humans from destroying the universe by reanimating our dead and having them kill us barehanded, and sometimes even just carry our unconscious bodies for whatever reason. While the means of creating zombies relies on electrical impulses to the brain, one person at a time, they are still just mindless drones doing the bidding of one or more masters. Mary Shelley's 1818 novel Frankenstein was also fundamental in the fact that people began to be familiar with the idea of a corpse coming back to life by scientific means instead of spiritual voodoo or any of that mess, and wreaking havoc on a population, as also was the case of a number of H.P. Lovecraft stories like The Outsider, Herbert West Animator, and Cool Air, and plenty more. Although these animated dead weren't exactly at the standards of the shambling corpses we know today, they were still violent, aggressive, and in most cases suited to feral impulses. It wasn't until I Am Legend and its film adaptation The Last Man on Earth's vampire-like beings that a change in the notion of the typical zombie would play out. But it wasn't I Am Legend that changed the course. No, it was merely the inspiration that sparked the creative mind of George A. Romero, creating the 1968 cult classic Night of the Living Dead. However, it's very important to note that the word zombie wasn't even used once in the film, and fans later would refer to the dead as such. But what became the most popular trope of the zombie we know itself was the fact that they craved and consumed the flesh of the living. Spreading and infecting living people through merely a bite, these rigor mortis-stricken stiffs lumber forth with limited motor skills and attack with what seems like a bit tougher overall strength. The only way of truly putting them down
by removing the head or destroying the brain. I'll repeat that. Removing the head or destroying the brain.
Meaning any damage to the body beyond those specifications would possibly hinder its movement but not kill it and stop its tirade for flesh. These rule sets for the zombie would pretty much become concrete for decades, as popular culture would take this idea and literally run with it, popularizing the idea that humans themselves add to the number of these monsters and can accumulate into a pandemic or zombie apocalypse despite whatever incarnation you have watched or been entertained by over the decades, whether they are called walkers, scream that they want or whisper that they want coffee, or if they have the ability to run. The bottom line behind any reanimated zombie persona would come down to some key points. Number 1, they must have died or already be dead and then be reanimated into a zombie. Number 2, they have the desire to consume flesh or brains of a living creature, mostly humans. Sometimes they do animals, but in most cases it's just humans. Number 3, do not require basic human necessities like eating, drinking, and sleeping to survive. They can pretty much live indefinitely without major organs or appendages until killed. Number 4, in most cases, must have their brain destroyed to be killed. Some zombie variants can also be taken out by severing the head, but in some cases, their head is still alive even after being severed.
Get that damn screwdriver out of my head!
Number 5, can infect the living by biting them. Some variants can transfer through scratches, bodily fluid, or even inhalation of zombifying particles. That's some of the basic components of a zombie I missed out on, so if I missed out on anything else, well, you'll probably timestamp or berate me in the comments section anyway. But with those points discussed, let's move on to the other side of the spectrum. After the subset of zombies in video games popularized the zombies genre even further, some changes to the dynamic of conversion and durability of the not-so-undead were made. With House of the Dead and Resident Evil, zombie variants were able to run at the player, being smarter than the average bear and congregating in an evil plot, making for a more thrilling and fast-paced experience. But something more had to be done. These zombies were still much too durable and required successive blows to the head to deal with. But what if you took the whole living dead factor out of these zombies and made them generally more fearsome, faster, and basically just an animal rabid with rabies? Popularized by the 2003 movie 28 Days Later and then later reworked into the styles of Left 4 Dead and The Last of Us alike, living people contracting a virus or infection that would send their mind into a rabies-like frenzy fueled by pure, well, rage, attacking anyone that is not infected. But herein lies the dividing factor and what defined the infected subset of the zombie genre. The infected are generally compared to a rabid animal infected with rabies, as it affects any mammal's brain, causing swelling and degradation of common sense, hallucinating, loss of sensibilities, and of course, unbridled aggression to anything nearby. But all of this is only possible while the host is alive, and their body is still mostly functioning. People like those affected by 28 Days Later's rage virus will be unrelenting in their chase after healthy survivors, being much more violent in their actions to subdue them. Left 4 Dead's infected play along the same route but can mutate over time into special, more deadlier variants, and the people of The Last of Us are infected by a fungus that keeps their body alive but hijacks the nervous system to work to infect others and allow the fungi to spread over time. However, a crucial part and their biggest drawback is the fact that they are still alive, relying on the body to continue to function. If the body fails, like the heart stopping, the brain shutting down, or any other vital organs being destroyed, the infected person will die. That also means they require sustenance to survive, and their state of self-preservation is gone. Much like a regular zombie, however, zombies don't need to eat, drink, and sleep. Time will wither down infected numbers unless the cause for infection can preserve the body for years, like the cordyceps brain infection derived from an invasive fungus. Regardless, they are still alive, but will have tendencies like a zombie that people will be familiar with. So for the infected, it boils down to a few solid points. Number 1, the infection needs the host alive, and the infected are basically normal human beings in the regard of their body, not their mind. Number 2, they do not desire human flesh, but actually work to spread the infection and or brutalize a survivor to death, whichever comes first, because they can't really infect someone they killed by beating to death. Number 3. The infected are still biologically living mammals and need food, water, and rest to survive long term. Because of this, their life expectancy after infection can last between a few weeks to a month or two before dying out. Number 4. They can be killed, like I said before, like a normal human. Hit a vital organ, make them lose enough blood, or cause enough damage, and they will fall. However, due to the adrenaline rushing through their brains, it may seem like they are more immune to damage than a regular person. Number 5. Same as zombies, the infection can spread through bites, scratches, blood, bodily fluids, and can sometimes be airborne. However, in the case of the infected, it does not require the host to die first before turning, so the infection rate is much faster depending on the strain virility. Now, these are the tropes and guidelines of what makes a zombie and what makes an infected that have been widened and differentiated many times over the years, with some being able to run like those seen in Dawn of the Dead 2004 and World War Z, some being able to talk like in Return of the Living Dead, and some using tools and being able to learn over time like the zombies found in Land of the Dead. Some people will argue that zombies cannot run and are restricted to a slow walking pace due to rigor mortis, using Night of the Living Dead as the main reference point for how a zombie should be. Fact of the matter is, we cannot say zombies will be set in stone to be at a sluggish pace, no matter how many episodes of Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead we have watched. Typical undead zombies crave flesh, even though they do not need to eat to survive. The opposite is true for the infected, in which in most cases do not have cannibalistic tendencies and do not think to eat in general. Their survivability both are factored either by time or by survivors killing them, but their time frames before dying out to either rot or starvation are vastly different. Another similarity shared by zombies and infected is there really is never a cure once someone has become afflicted by the zombie or infection. They are just screwed. Another talking point, and probably the most crucial and heavily debated case, is the fact that one is alive and the other is dead. I'm sure there will be someone in the comments section saying, zombies are dead, infected are alive. Boom, just saved you 10 minutes. While yes, that is true, you have to understand though, their status of being alive or dead shouldn't push you to say infected can never be referred to as zombies. Infected are basically not human beings anymore, just as zombies cannot be considered human. They share the same physiology as humans, but do not act, behave, or exist in the same manner that humans do. Although later in George A. Romero's works, zombies started to become a little more human, but they were just getting more human elements tracing back to what they used to be. So we can really claim zombies as former human, while infected are former humans as well, but a lot more feral and less prone to revert. Whether in death or in life, these creatures have the same minuscule goal: attack the healthy living, either killing them or infecting them to add to the numbers. Flock to any sign of life, whether it be noise, light, or motion, or if nothing is available, roam aimlessly in a dreary, voided, and mindless manner, never to speak or be reasoned with. As I stated at the beginning, a zombie is a spirit that is supposed to wander the earth to torment the living. Dead, alive, it's all the same. And if any of that rung true for you in your day-to-day life, maybe you're a zombie yourself. So hopefully this smash of information was enough to clear the air for zombie elitists when it comes to terminology of the zombie genre. Yes, the infected technically aren't zombies in a general sense, but in broad terms, nobody will take it any differently, and the general consensus of these apocalyptic pandemic scenarios will usually play out the same, whether it be video games, movies, TV shows, or books. All encompassed in the zombie genre, the creators of infected-style-like media like Left 4 Dead, Last of Us, 28 Days, and even technically Resident Evil all refer to their creations as zombies. And as we all know, it comes down to the writers and creators to properly label a fictional story's elements. So don't berate someone for calling 28 Days Later or Left 4 Dead a zombie game. Technicalities are technicalities. It's still in the genre, and they're still mindless drones like their original definition of the term states. If you found this video interesting, informative, or a complete waste of time, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, ring that bell, and all that jazz. You can also be featured on this fancy list over yonder if you're feeling charitable and want to support the channel further by heading to Patreon, link in the description or on my homepage, donating during my live streams, or becoming a member of the channel. I'm still doing other series like Why You Wouldn't Survive Zombie Sins and the occasional Left 4 Dead video, but hopefully hopefully you enjoyed this video that I whipped together in a short amount of time. Also, like I always have to say, don't forget to head to Aniba.com for gaming deals that get better each and every weekend. You can head to Aniba.com/join/wow for $1.13 off your first purchase. And on top of that, you can use code WOW at checkout for an additional 3% off your price. So you're getting some games for a little bit less. Anyways, with all of that out of the way, they're not zombies, they're infected. I'm Zack aka Wow Such Gaming. Don't forget to stay wow, you bunch of zombies.